Welcome to this episode of Talk and Development. I'm speaking to you from Marrakesh, Morocco, and it's exciting, humbling, and inspiring to be here. Exciting because the World Bank has had a rich, long-standing partnership with Morocco, and the country just hosted this year's World Bank IMF annual meetings. Humbling to see the country's resilience, hope, and solidarity after the recent earthquake, and inspiring because Morocco has a clear vision for its future in what it calls the new development model, and the World Bank is proud to be supporting the work that's going into this vision. That said, there are significant challenges, but also lessons for other developing countries on how to mitigate and respond to shocks, including the recent earthquake that hit Morocco last month. I am thrilled to have with me today Minister of Finance and Economy of Morocco, Nadia Feta. Minister, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We are wrapping up an incredibly successful week of annual meetings here in Marrakesh. And you are the host of these meetings. And I want to ask you, what was it like to plan and prepare for these meetings? And what does it mean for Morocco?
Even if we are wrapping up, I would like once again to thank you for being here and for all the attendees. As you mentioned, it's been a long journey to be able to host in such exceptional, I would say, site the annual meetings, different purposes. First, having the world gathering in Morocco in these very difficult times is important because I think the conversation were, I would say, positive, constructive, and hopefully it will give some optimism that the financial world is aware of the challenges and prepared, I would say, to come with better answers. This is very important. On the Moroccan point of view, because of the earthquake, that is a human tragedy, being able to maintain this annual meeting was very important to showcase the resilience. It is very important, and probably we can get back to that into details. And finally, it is very important also to showcase the trajectory of sustainable growth that Morocco have been improving under the leadership of His Majesty. Showcase because it is important to have let's say, a role model in a continent that have been waiting for these annual meetings for 50 years, because we have a very strong partnership with the World Bank, with the IMF, and we took advantage of all the tools that are available, making, of course, our part of the job. And I think also it gives hope, and it shows the way for so many other emerging countries being a middle-income country.
Thank you so much. And yes, the earthquake, which happened not very long ago, and we really stand in solidarity with Morocco, with the people of Morocco, with the families and loved ones. What can you share a little bit? How did Morocco respond, and what are you doing beyond relief to the population that's been affected?
Yes, the earthquake happened. It was a month ago. A lot of human losses and really a human tragedy. But under the guidance of His Majesty, the response was quick and very efficient. Priority was to rescue and relieve people, of course. And we had all the stakeholders mobilized, and the sequence was so organized. This was very important. Internal and external solidarity of stakeholders, and I'm taking the opportunity to thank all the people who helped. So maybe just some milestone that is very important to share. Within a week, we could, I would say, have children back to school. School meant a tent, unfortunately, but at least they were there, and they have social assistance because we need to relieve them psychologically. Within the same week, also, we had announced the program of the government of how we're going to support them for rebuild their houses. Very important, because even if it takes months, at least they know they will support it. And in the meanwhile, we need to have a solution because they lost their revenues. So we announced also that there will be money transfer for 12 months. And it was also effective. The real money flew the 6th of October, few days before the assembly. But the lesson is that we need to build back better, and we have been instructed by His Majesty to do so. So we have a full comprehensive plan within 5 years, a $12 billion plan, covering all the aspects, infrastructure, public services, but also creating conditions for a decent economic activity and social development. Morocco would use the crisis as a new opportunity because we reinvent ourselves when we are learning with this type of challenges and crises.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, our hearts really go out. But what a strong response, and the sense of comfort for the people who've been affected. And also the idea that taking the opportunity to also build back better is really, really well noted. I wanted to continue a little bit on Morocco's path for economic development. COVID, of course, affected all countries around the world. Morocco weathered it relatively quite well and is on this path of economic recovery. Are there any specific economic policies that you feel, as the Minister of Finance and Economy, that really helped Morocco have the resilience and the strength to weather shocks and storms from an economic point of view?
I cannot agree more that we have sound, I would say, economic policy that have shown that they were effective the moment that we had to mitigate the impact of the crisis. First of all is diversification of economy, because some decades ago we were so reliant on agriculture, and now we are diversifying economy. COVID, tourism was has just stopped 7% of our GDP. But despite this, we have a strong rebound because we have a strategy for industry, we have strategy for services, strategy for tourism, etc. So diversification is important. And this diversification has an ambition of being integrated in the global value chain. So when you have all this, what the so-called fragmentation and the geopolitical concept, the fact that Morocco is not seen anymore as a low-cost factory, it's definitely not our strategy. So we are, I would say, in the conversation of the strategic mid-long term of our partner, because each moment we are going to a new sector or reinforcing it, we would train engineer for the logistic, the green energy for this. So I think it is a strong and very strong offer for this diversification. We also put a lot of energy and resources to train people from, I would say, schools to universities. And this is also, these capabilities, this human capital talent are also important for the economy. And not to be too long, I think what is important also that is this DNA of openness of Morocco. We have a lot of free trade agreement. We are the only country in the continent that have one with the US, which is quite brave to have one. But this have also pushed to be more competitive, to have I would say, quality and standard in producing, in also trading with the rest of the world.
Very important lessons there, I think, on the diversification and the openness, which a lot of countries can learn from. And this is going to be my final question for you. This week, during the meetings, we've heard a lot about the need to create jobs against a somewhat gloomy outlook on growth, the important role of the private sector in doing so, dealing with the major existential threat of climate, and of course, many countries still dealing with food insecurity. What lessons can other developing nations, particularly on the continent of Africa, take away from Morocco?
I think the challenges are complex, and we made a choice not to choose between them because all of them are important. So as a government on our, I would say, budget, what is not negotiable is to fund for the social state, have resources for health, for education, and for social protection. And to fund for this, you need growth. And for the growth, our role is to enable the investors, the economic world, to do the proper investment, to have visibility, to be a reliable partner for them. So we are changing our regulation because sometimes it doesn't allow for, I would say, all the context for the business to grow. We are pushing for a public-private partnership. We are taking the climate change through renewable energy as an opportunity, and there is a lot of appetite for this. And we are pushing also for good governance. This is very important. Good governance is very important. At the end of the day, it's about creating jobs, especially for youth and for women. And for this also, we come in with policies not to be mandatory or to push for this, but really create the proper condition for a more sustainable growth. Hopefully, it will show the path for maybe other countries that are seeking for a better world for their future generations.
Thank you so much, Minister. And again, huge congratulations on this. I know a lot of work goes into it, and the World Bank is just so immensely grateful to Morocco, the people of Morocco, for hosting the annual meetings. I have to say, having been to a few of these outside of Washington, this one was absolutely world class. And the location, the logistics, the planning, everything has just been great. And it's made such a difference in the quality of our discussions this week. So congratulations. I hope you and your team get a little bit of a break, at least for a day or two after the meetings. But thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you again for hosting us.
And I'm also seizing the opportunity to thank the World Bank. I think we, both of us, can be very proud of the strength of this partnership, and looking for more, I would say, ambition project, and more than welcome to all our hosts this week in Morocco. Thank you.
You so much. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. That's it for today, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of Talking Development.